Welcome. I'd like to take you on the tour of the city of Pretoria, the administrative capital of South Africa. It lies nestled in the ancient Magaliesberg Mountains and has a subtropical climate. It lies at 1,340 meters above sea level, which makes it a very pleasant place to live. The sun shines nearly every day of the year, and even the winter months are not too cold. Looking at the image, one can see the purple-colored jacaranda trees, which is also the other name that Pretoria has. It's known as the Jacaranda City because 70,000 jacaranda trees grow in the area of Pretoria. When spring comes in September and October, it is a sight to behold, and many tourists and visitors flock to the city to view the famous jacaranda-lined streets of Pretoria. Pretoria is the home to the Union Buildings, which is the home of the president and the office of the president, so the official home of the South African government. This lies on Mankieskop, one of the many hills of the Magaliesberg Mountains, in which Pretoria is nestled. The Union Buildings is one of the most famous buildings in South Africa and truly a beautiful building built out of sandstone. The famous architect Sir Herbert Baker was the designer, and it was built to demonstrate and to celebrate the Union of South Africa, which was formed in 1910. History changed in South Africa when Nelson Mandela became the president and welcomed by the nation on the day that he was inaugurated in 1994 after the first democratic elections. And Nelson Mandela now holds a prime position in the gardens of the Union Buildings overlooking the city. The statue is one of the most magnificent statues of Nelson Mandela, 9 meters tall. The wingspan from fingertip to fingertip is 8 meters and it weighs a significant 3.5 tons of bronze. The sculpture was erected a few days after the passing of Nelson Mandela on the 5th of December 2013. It was erected in the garden of the Union Buildings. Since that day, it has become the center of attraction of the city tour of Pretoria. Many visitors visit the statue. Many school children, visitors from abroad, South Africans, because the statue holds the spirit of reconciliation. Nelson Mandela overlooks the city and overlooks the country as he faces towards the south with a gesture of blessing, and his life and his leadership represented the spirit of reconciliation and forgiveness with the beginning of the new democratic South Africa. In the city center, the old traditional city center, which was built soon after the city of Pretoria was founded in 1855, we find another famous statue, the statue of Paul Kruger. He was the president of the Transvaal Republic at a significant time in the history of South Africa when gold was discovered and had to make very important decisions about the development of the gold fields, and hence is also the name that was given to the famous Kruger Rand, the gold coin. He was also the first president to implement conservation, and hence the famous Kruger National Park, one of the iconic places in South Africa, is named after President Paul Kruger. Around him are some of the oldest buildings in Pretoria, such as the old post office and the Palace of Justice, which houses the Gauteng High Court, where the famous court case of the murder case of Oscar Pistorius was heard, as well as the Old Raadsaal, which was the parliamentary building of the Boer Republic when Paul Kruger was the president. Moving on to another famous monument, which holds the spirit of reconciliation, forgiveness, and also unity, which was again the brainchild of Nelson Mandela when he said in 1999 already, a people's shrine will be erected in honor of those who endured and sacrificed the pain, so we should experience freedom. It truly became a national and international icon of humanity and freedom, and is a living museum which is constantly changing and being altered, where places of discussion are being held. such as the names that are displayed on the wall of names, people that have died and that have sacrificed and suffered in the name of freedom of South Africa. This wall is constantly changing. Names are being added, and discussion around which names should be added happens, and it is a living museum, a place of discussion. There are many symbolic areas of this museum using the elements such as water, the eternal flame, the poles signifying the reeds which are normally around the king's palaces in South Africa and Africa, made out of reeds, the eternal flame burning to signify peace, and then the very sacred Isivivane, which is the place where they collected rocks from every province of South Africa, built in a circle with a sacred fire in the center where ceremonies take place. It was consecrated by all the religious leaders in South Africa to be a place of ceremony and honor. Freedom Park has a magnificent museum which dates the history of the world and Africa, which is said to be the cradle of humankind, through the most incredible audiovisual material and images and items that are on display, and is absolutely worth a visit. The Futrika Monument lies on a hill, a koppie, opposite Freedom Park. And this is one of the famous monuments that are visited by many tourists that come to South Africa. It tells the story of a group of people who left the Cape Colony when it became British to find their own land and found the Boer republics in the north. The story of these people is portrayed by this monument. It was built by the descendants 100 years after the trek, and it was inaugurated in 1949. The coral tree is a sight to behold in the winter months in South Africa with its bright orange blossoms. Pretoria also has a botanical garden, which is worth a visit. Lovely walks and picnics can be held in this garden, where the diverse vegetation of South Africa can be seen. Within the city of Pretoria, there are many shopping malls and precincts inside and outside where one can discover the South African cuisine, South African wines, and the shopping experiences amongst street art and wonderful accommodation facilities. Every taste and every budget can be met in the city of Pretoria. It is host to many embassies and consulates. Only Washington, D.C. has more consulates and embassies compared to the city of Pretoria. So there's truly an international flavor to the inner city of Pretoria, and the population itself consists mostly of Tswana and Northern Sotho and Afrikaans and English-speaking South Africans. I hope that you enjoyed the tour of the city of Pretoria and hope that we can welcome you as a visitor to our capital of South Africa. Thank you.